Well, hello again, and welcome to the VK6CS Amateur Radio Channel. Is it possible to get more excitement? I hear you cry. Well, let's see. I suspect not. Okay, all right. Sorry, I suspect yes. Now, many years ago, well, many years ago, 10 years ago, I worked in the Pilbara, up in the northwest of Western Australia. This is the whip section. Actually, the original one broke. This is a VHF, I think 5/8 whip, or part of it, that I'm going to be using to repair my HF Terlin antenna. This goes in here, goes in the end there. Then you do up this little knurled nut to hold it in position. Now, when I was up in the Pilbara, I had this Terlin Outbacker Perth Plus on the bull bar of my Land Cruiser, and I didn't use it a great deal. I thought it was on there for a month or so, but looking at it, it looks like it was on there, I don't know, since the days of the Romans in the UK. It looks like it's certainly been on there for about a year, but honestly don't remember, because I've been back in Perth for 10 years, and I was up in the Pilbara for 7. So anyway, I dug this out of my radio junk room because I was doing a bit of portable work recently with a friend of mine, and we're using a very small mag loop, homemade mag loop, magnetic loop antenna, and we just hung it up in a sort of patio type shelter, and we were talking to someone 800 odd kilometres away. We're only using an FT817 with running a few watts, and we were getting 5 and 6 reports, and I thought, well, it'd be interesting to see how that homemade loop compares with one of these. I've heard people say these are just expensive dummy loads. I've used this one not a great deal, but I do recall I was, I don't know, probably 50 kilometres south of Newman in Western Australia, mining town, iron ore mining town, and I was up at one of the BHP repeater stations right up on top of a hill. I used to work for them looking after that sort of equipment, and I started a QSO with a guy in Melbourne. And I drove all the way back to Newman, so I drove down the hill, through the valleys, back to Newman, and there was no problem with the contact at all, as you probably expect being HF, but certainly it was radiating something, because Melbourne's a very long way from Newman. Can't remember if it was on 40 metres or 20 metres. Anyway, so it looks a little worse for wear, this antenna, but I suspect it probably works fine. As I say, the steel whip broke off the top of it, and this is because I used to drive for, I don't know, between 200 and 500 kilometres a day on dirt roads. Driving on the dirt road, the vibration made the steel whip part of the antenna whip around, so that when I looked at it through the windscreen and I was going along the dirt road, it actually looked like a sort of silver zeppelin, about 1 metre long, sticking out the top. The actual whip section of this was whipping around so much it actually looked like a sort of sausage shape. Didn't take very long for it to shear off here at the little knurled nut. So I suspect people that use these on four-wheel drives and spend a lot of time driving on dirt roads. I probably drove at high speed on dirt roads, to be perfectly honest. A lot of the time, because I wasn't a sightseer, I was working for a living up there, will find that they'll probably get through quite a few stainless steel whips, I would think. They do shear off. Now, surprisingly, this antenna does 2 metres right the way through to 80 metres. So for 6 metres and 2 metres, there are 2 smaller whips that go on there, a 2 metre one and a 6 metre one. Then there's a longer one that does the HF bands. And you put this this wander lead here. You just plug it into these different tappings depending on what band you want. This is the 40 metre band, And this end here is marked WL or 80, so it's wander lead or 80 metres, wander lead common or 80 metres. If you're going to use it on 80 metres, you take the wander lead off completely. This is an earth ground connection. You plug that into the G, or if you're using the antenna on 80 metres or 6 metres, you plug it into NC, which is no connection. It's just somewhere to park that plug. You can just plug it in there, and it just stops it dangling off your bull bar. Okay, so it's been sitting around for a very long time. I can't recall the state of the antenna, whether it was faulty or not. So I thought just a couple of very quick checks just to see how healthy it looks. Now, I don't have any cotton buds. Otherwise I would have cleaned with CLR. It's very good stuff for this sort of thing. Just dip it in the CLR, stuff called CLR you can buy from most places. You can probably buy it all over the planet. Calcium, lime and rust remover. Some of that stuff on a cotton bud just to clean the insiders of these, and that would all be fine. That cleans up very, very nicely. I know because I've cleaned the ground, the common and the 40 metre connections, because they're the ones I'm going to be using. I did that with a paper towel, and I don't know, I can't remember what I stuck in there now, but it's a lot harder doing it like that than it would be with cotton buds. So I thought, right, for now I'll clean the ones I'm interested in using. Later on, if this works okay, I'll clean all the rest with a cotton bud, and I'll probably clean the whole antenna with a mixture of fairly concentrated washing up liquid and a toothbrush, just to clean it all up. But this is red dirt from the Pilbara on there. Okay, so let's see if it looks healthy. How are we going to do that? We'll get a multimeter. These leads are so bloody stiff. I can remember years ago I had actually I've still got an AVO 8, but it's faulty at the moment. I had an AVO 8 and the leads with that were just so flexible. So we'll put that onto ohms. And just make sure the meter's working okay. Yeah, it's alright, that's pretty much on 0. Don't have to worry about centering a digital meter, of course. Alright, so now we'll go to the SO239 socket on the antenna base. And come to think of it, a couple of people have said to me, how do you connect the coax to these Terlin HF antennas? And that's how you connect the coax. The coax goes to an Pt1 plug. It plugs into that SO239 socket. Don't know why it's not an SO259. I didn't name them. And you can see that's quite shiny around there where it's come off the car. This was years ago. There would have been a connector on there and it would have had amalgamating tape around it to protect it, and that's been taken off, and you can see what that you might be able to see what that used to look like before it got covered in Pilbara red dirt. It's stainless steel anyway, so it'll scrub up like a new pin. I'm not bothered about that. Just another thing, if you put a plug on that with your coax going away into the car, put the when you put the amalgamating tape on, start from 2 or 3 inches along the coax and wind it on towards the antenna. That way, any water, when it's raining, you're going through creeks or anything else, the water runs down the steps away from the connector, if you see what I mean. If you wound it the other way, from the connector out, the steps in the tape would be towards the connector, and you don't want that. You get water in there and nasty things start happening. Okay, so the meter, you can see that it's not very good light here at the moment. Don't know what this is going to look like. If it looks crappy, I won't bother putting it on there. So we're going from the inner to the outer on the SO239 socket, and it's an open circuit, which is what we expect to see, what I hope to see. Now we plug this into our ground connection, the one marked G, and we should see a short. And we do. Fantastic. Okay, so now we'll take that out. and we'll go from the inner to the bottom end of the wander lead. Now the top end of the wander lead is plugged into the 40 metre point on the antenna, and we should see something there, and we do. Let's see about what's that, 1 ohm, something like that. That's an ohm, so that's pretty much what we want to see, and that tells us that that shows me that the connection between the centre pin on the SO239 and this connection point here is all good. So it's flowing, that current is flowing through the centre pin on there, up through the coil, out through this connection here. So it shows me that the connection to the banana plug here is good, the connection inside the banana plug is good, and it flows all the way around this this wander lead, as they call it, to this banana plug here, and that all looks fine. So now I'm going to plug that back into the wander lead common, marked WL80, because it's also the 80 metre tap. Well, that doesn't actually make sense. It would have made more sense just to call that wander lead common, because when you use this on 80 metres, this wander lead is not connected at either end at all. Okay, so now I'll pull this end out, and I'll just have a look at the continuity between that point there and the knurled tip of this part of the antenna that actually connects to the stainless steel whip. What do I see there? Oh, okay. Yeah, ohm and a half, something like that. So that tells me the connection through the rest of the antenna is going back down. That current is going down from the tip, the knurled tip there where the stainless steel whip connects to the antenna, all the way down through the coil. It's going through this connection point here, through this banana plug, along the wander lead to the other banana plug there. And that tells me that that connection is good there, where the banana plug plugs in. Also tells me that the connection inside the banana plug is fine. And the connection all the way through to the knurled tip at the end, as I say, where the whip goes in, is all good. So this antenna looks to me to be healthy. Let's plug that back in to the 40 metre position. There we go. And it's just going to be a case of putting this stainless steel whip. Now the one you get with it, for time, that's 13 minutes, okay. Now the one you get with it is 900 millimeters long. This one's a bit longer than that because, as I say, this is part of a VHF whip antenna, 5/8 VHF whip antenna probably. I would say, looking at that, the length of it, well, it might be a half wave, I suppose. But this is more than this stainless steel whip is more than 900 mil long. So I know that it's going to be suitable for me to cut down to the correct length when I put it in the end of this and tune it on the ball bar of my car. So with the original supplied 900 mil whip, it would just have been a case of moving the whip, pushing the whip in and out of there. You probably can't see it on the video, but I should have put a masking tape flag on that so you can actually see it going up and down, but I'm sure you you can get the gist of what's happening. Yeah, I don't have any tape on the bench, on the table, but basically this whip slides in and out of here to tune it. Now I know this is longer than 900 millimeters, so I know that I can cut bits off of this and I'll get it to the right length. Once it's at the right length, I just tighten that up, and there's my HF antenna. Now because the one supplied with it originally was 900 mil, this is longer. I know it's going to be shorter. You can't see the end of it there, but that's quite long. It's going to be shorter than that. So the whole thing probably, once it's all installed and operating, is going to be less than 2 meters tall, I would say. Yeah, or maybe around 2 meters in length. And these antennas, I'll just take that whip out again because it's hitting the blinds. These antennas are, apart from that problem with the if you're using it regularly on dirt roads, the stainless steel whips shear off here. But apart from that, these things are very robust. They're built like tanks. And the other thing too is, if you're going to buy one of these, remember the base, this sprung-loaded base, doesn't come with it. It costs you a few quid for the antenna, and again a few quid for the sounds like someone going past riding a lawnmower. It's probably their new Hyundai. Apologies to any Hyundai, Kia or Proton owners. It has been known for me to say, if you see me in a Hyundai, a Proton or a Kia, call the cops, because I've been abducted. Well, I think they're a lot better these days. Now, what was I saying? Yeah, so it's quite robust. If you're going to buy one, it doesn't come with this spring-loaded base. These are quite expensive as well. So that's probably reasonably that in itself, this bit here is probably quite expensive to go out and buy brand new. This looks like it's going to be fine, and it'll be interesting to compare this. I'll tune this, and our company vehicles have bull bars on them, and I'll just take it on a I'll take it next time we go out and bolt it on the bull bar on the company car, and we'll be able to compare the operation of this and the operation of the small homemade magnetic loop, just to see if there's any difference, whether this is better or worse than the small loop. It'll certainly be more convenient because there won't be any construction to do. I mean, once this is bolted on the bull bar, that'll be that. You don't have to hang it up anywhere. If it's on the bull bar on a car, it's possible to drive, along a jetty or something like that and get a bit of seawater around you. We've actually looked at a couple of jetties before, but there's been nowhere to actually hang the loop. Anyway, that should be a bit of fun. On the bottom of this thing here, there's also this nice big heavy braid that goes around to the actual body of the car. And you have to make sure with these HF installations that you make sure that you've got a really good chassis, car body bond. Otherwise, they don't really radiate very efficiently at all. I've often wondered whether it's actually the car body that does the radiating. Maybe I'll get a fuel strength meter and find out. Just fire it up on a car and walk around it and just see if that turns out to be the case. All right, well, that's just a little bit on the Terlin Outbacker. This is the Perth Plus model. Not sure they make the Perth Plus anymore. I think they make one called the Perth. Remember to turn that off so the battery doesn't die, should the probes become shorted together. So I think they make one called the Perth, but not the. I'm not so sure they do the Perth Plus anymore. I'm not sure what the difference is. I suspect they may very well have taken the 2 metre and the 6 metre, or at least the 2 metre part out of it, because although it's the same connection, it means they wouldn't have to supply you with an additional small whip. Let's say you get 3 with it. You get the HF one, you get the 6 metre one, you get the 2 metre one. So you have to change when you use this on those different bands. The rest of the HF bands is just a case of moving. Once you've got the HF whip installed there, it's just a case of moving the fly lead up and down. And it's also got the this one's got the 30 metre, 20 metre, 17 metre, 15 metre, 12 metre bands, as well as the 10 metre, 2 and 6. So it's really quite a versatile antenna. So that's the Terlin Perth Plus off of my old Land Cruiser. Hope you found that interesting or useful or both. And as always, many thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.